Hi guys, and welcome to my review of Welcome to Derry episode 4. This is an episode that I feel will become quite divisive amongst fans. I think it's certainly maybe will prove to be the most divisive episode that we've got so far. I mean, I'm speculating there. I don't know what the general consensus is, but I do kind of feel like that this could basically become like a really divisive episode for fans. And I think a large part of that is because this episode offers quite a bit of an expansion into Pennywise's origins here. We get a lot of expansion into why Pennywise is confined to Derry, why he can kind of operate outside of Derry, all that sort of stuff. And it's one of those things where I think that 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 not all fans of this source material are going to be able to get behind. I don't think necessarily. I'll basically weigh in my own views of that in due course. But yeah, for the sake of this. I'll try and keep this review as kind of as simplified as possible. I don't want to get into too many kind of fan theories and stuff like that, because if I kind of relay in this episode and also incorporating kind of fan theories, I feel like it's going to get a little bit kind of convoluted because as with previous episodes of this show, there's quite a few different plot threads to follow, so I'm going to kind of try and keep this as kind of as simplified as possible. So this episode essentially opens up with the Losers Club taking the photographs that they had taken in the cemetery from the end of a previous episode of Pennywise, because we have Pennywise who's able to kind of distort reality, or at least kind of fog the minds of adults. The police don't really see anything supernatural in these photos. So it ends up basically sending Losers Club back to the drawing board. We basically see Lily, who basically confides in this confidant from Juniper Hill, named Ingrid, who seems supportive of Ingrid, but also I'm not sure we should be really fully trusted in her. There are certain little, maybe we shouldn't be looking too deeply into the fact that she's dressed in red and white here, So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think this Ingrid character will be playing a more significant role as we go on. But apart from this episode being the expanding into the origins of Pennywise, I think this episode will also be really notable for being for having basically one of the most horrifying, nastiest scenes I think we've even ever gotten in horror, full stop. And that's saying something, because I watch a lot of horror, and I'm kind of like a gore hound myself, but one of the things that does get me is anything to do with eyes or eyeballs or just touching the eyeballs. It kind of makes me quite squeamish. This was I mean, that plays into why I'm kind of saying this, but we basically have opposite Lily, we have Marge and the Patty Cakes, who are planning on playing this prank on Lily, and we then basically have we have this presentation in class that essentially basically ends up screaming Marge out. She becomes really squeamish from this, and maybe also because maybe some anxiety that Marge is feeling over this pending prank that they're going to play on Lily. This makes her quite emotionally susceptible to Pennywise to prey on her, and he basically does this by basically making her think that her eyeballs are basically turned into these two kind of balloons, where it basically ends up Marge freaking herself out over this so much that she tries to saw her own eyeballs off, and it's just one of the most nastiest sequences I think I've ever seen. And like I said, I've seen a lot of gnarly stuff in horror, but yeah, this absolutely ranks up there. It's a sequence that that Lily doesn't come out well on neither. I think Marge ends up doing more damage to Lily than she ever envisioned to do, no pun intended, because basically we have Lily trying to come to Marge's aid here, but the classmates end up coming in just the wrong time, so they basically see Lily looming over Marge with this sharpened instrument and over a bloodied Marge, and there's basically also this rhetoric of because of Lily's visions of Pennywise, she's seen as this kind of like mentally unstable person anyway. At the beginning of the episode, when they basically send the photos to the sheriff, he basically looks at Lily and says that if they continue to do this, then Lily will be going back to the nut house, as he puts it. But yeah, absolutely horrifying sequence. So also in this episode we have another member of our Losers Club, Will. He ends up confiding in his mum over the pictures. His mum, Charlotte, becomes passionate about helping her son and helping Hank, who has been wrongly imprisoned in Shawshank. Although her motivations for wanting to free Hank are kind of more rooted in kind of the racial injustices that she sees rather than anything kind of like supernatural. Also with Will, we basically see him go on a fishing trip with his father. Pennywise basically takes this opportunity to prey on Will. We learn that Will has a phobia of his dad on fire, so Pennywise basically utilizes this to appear as a burnt version of his dad, he essentially comes close to drowning when Will's dad intervenes just in time. But yeah, Will sees the fear in his son, and he kind of like totally, although he's not totally believing of a supernatural thing, he believes in his son's fear. But Will comes to know that there is something awry. He can see the signs of Pennywise. This episode, like an episode previous, it continues to kind of sprinkle these little bits of Pennywise's clown form. We see the red balloons, which Leroy can see. This leads Leroy to confide in with Dick Halloran. During this exchange, we can see that Dick Halloran automatically knows that the entity that's been traumatizing him is also basically the same thing that him and Will are talking about. Talking about the Dick Halloran character, we see Dick using his shining abilities. We see him using his shining abilities to probe Daniel's mind during an interrogation scene, because it's basically believed by the military that this will unlock the whereabouts of Pennywise, or at least kind of like lift the lid on this mystery of Pennywise. This essentially with Dick Halloran probing Daniel's mind, this is basically where we kind of go back centuries and we find out the origins of Pennywise, where he comes to Earth encased into this meteorite. We basically see the battle that then proceeds to take place between Rose's tribe and Pennywise. We basically find out that they essentially end up building these pillars, which end up essentially imprisoning Pennywise within these confines. And then basically as we now are seeing Dick Halloran's character step into Daniel's mind, the episode ends with us being led back into the Neibolt house, which we saw in the It from 2017. That this serves as a prequel to It was the house that appeared where Eddie had his first encounter with Pennywise, where he appeared before Eddie as the leper. It's also referred to as a well house in It Chapter 2, and basically that's the note that we end this episode on. On the whole, I really enjoyed this. Did not enjoy the eye slicing sequence at all, as much as gnarly as I can like my horror. That was absolutely fine. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the idea of us going back and really doing a deep dive into the origins of Pennywise. I think a lot of that works best when it's kind of kept as a mystery. I think that it's kind of neat that we get some explanations into maybe what keeps Pennywise into Derry. The way that this the way we kind of like see this this ancient battle between Rose's tribe and Pennywise play out, and it's sort of it kind of like reminded me this sort of Saruman type thing at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that, and it's just I just didn't need that. It was kind of like it falls into one of those tropes that our prequels fall into, where it's sort of answering questions that maybe the audience weren't really asking in the first place. but yeah, I mean, having said that, I think that there's going to be fans that are going to feel totally opposite about that as well, and I think that they're going to really embrace doing this dive into the origins. Like I said, I think that it's going to be a really divisive point. So yeah, I'll be really interested to know where you guys fall, and let me know down in the comment section where you fall with that, because yeah, I think that this will be a bit of a point of contention going forward with this. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, let me know down in the comment section about what your thoughts were. Are you a fan of doing this deep dive into Pennywise's origins? What yeah, and just what were your thoughts on this episode in general, all of our fun stuff, let me know down in the comment section, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video.